Hello, and welcome to your Wednesday dose of Midweek Momentum, a quick thought to help you move through the rest of the week with a little bit more clarity, confidence, and intention. And today, leaders, I'm coming at you with a little bit of a truth bomb because I have been working with some leadership teams lately, which is one of my very favorite things to do because there are, so many intricacies within the relationships of leadership teams and teams in general. And we all know I'm a former engineer, and my favorite systems to work on are human ones. And one of the things that I have been seeing consistently amongst leadership teams is the challenge of how people react when decisions get made, especially those decisions that either they didn't come up with or they don't agree with, right? So maybe you've been in this situation where you don't necessarily agree to what the leadership team or the executive leadership team decides to, prioritize or put in place. Maybe you'd have done it differently. Maybe you don't think this is the best option for the outcome. And that can often undermine the relationships and the trust within a team because when that happens, those of us on the wrong side or the, let's say, different side of the decision can react. Grumblings in hallways, people can disengage. You resist the decision, slow roll implementation, drag your feet, or maybe even you just start going to bat for change. But the thing is, this is actually a leadership skill that we need to have today more than ever. I talk a lot about human skills, and it's really obvious when we think about being able to communicate well, have empathy, understand people. But then when we get into the dynamics with other humans, there are actually things that we really need to do to grow beyond limitations. And ultimately, to me, this comes down to a level of maturity to accept decisions that you may or may not have bought into. However, there's a reason they were made, whether it's because there was consensus amongst more people or ultimately you weren't the final decision maker, right? And a lot of teams and a lot of leaders think that alignment means everyone agrees or alignment means everyone has to agree. But that's not actually how teams work. And that's also not necessarily how good teams work. Healthy leadership environments don't necessarily mean that unanimous decision making and unanimous agreement is the goal. The goal is clear decision making, clear priorities, and here's the key, all of you, here's the truth bomb: committed execution. Yes, sometimes your ideas will win, sometimes they will not. However, if you are a mature leader, you understand how important it is to disagree with a decision, but fully support the direction and the delivery of it. Because once a decision is made, the real job of a leader is to move everyone forward together, regardless of what you think of the decision and what it was made. And when you don't do that, you begin to cause a negative ripple effect. We get murmurings in hallways. We talk about, or you've got a chip on your shoulder, or a tone when you talk about the direction. But leadership is about how you respond to decisions, whether they were yours or not, and whether it went the way you want. Don't erode the trust. And so I'm going to give you a simple little test. Somebody out there, I'm sure, is saying, "Okay, yeah, I've done that before." Where the executive leadership team, decided to do X thing or prioritize Y initiative, and I don't think that's it. So I'm going to go chat in the hallway with somebody not on the executive leadership team about why I think this wasn't the right decision. And now the gossip mill has started. And so I'm going to give you a little test. And guess what? You're not a bad leader if you've done this. However, this is the kind of human skill building we want to do in order to have really, really effective teams built on trust and solid communication, right? So I'm going to give you a little test. When a decision is made that you didn't come up with the solution yourself, or you may not be aligned with the ultimate decision, I want you to ask yourself, am I going to help this decision succeed? Or am I going to quietly, or maybe even subconsciously, hope it fails? Right? You're with me. Are you going to be a team player who helps a decision succeed? Or are you going to quietly, even subconsciously, hope it fails? Because if you fall into camp B, you may be undermining the leadership, trust, and responsibility, potentially without even knowing it if it's subconscious. The real measure of leadership isn't about what you do when you win, it's what you do when you either don't or can't. Yes, you can contribute your perspective, you can feel heard, but once the decision is made, you've got to commit to the direction and help that team move forward. At the end of the day, not every decision is going to be yours unless you are a single business owner where you just are leading yourself. And sometimes you'll even disagree with yourself. Ask me how I know. Not every decision will be yours, and not every decision is going to be perfect. And there will be reasons those imperfect decisions are made. But and and that's how great teams are made, right? There is no such thing as perfect. Good teamwork, good communication, and progress is really built on a shared commitment to make a decision succeed once it is made. So I'll ask you one more time. Are you helping a decision or a directive succeed? Or are you quietly or subconsciously hoping it fails? And if you fall into B, I'm going to challenge you to change your perspective and think about how you can get on board, even if a decision isn't the thing that you'd have chosen. How's that for a lesson in life and leadership? That's your midweek momentum. I'll see you next week.